fit in one more? Let's try to fit in one more. Water types. Now, unlike fire types, who are kind of a niche attacker that haven't quite come into their own because there aren't enough ice and steel types for them to contend with, water's been pretty much a top-tier type since the very beginning. There's lots of choices, a lot of really strong choices the entire time. It's a very, it's effective against several types that are very common. Its defensive properties are slightly lacking, but it has a lot of neutral coverage possibilities as well. Now, the two main weaknesses it has, we're going to want for this car to go by. Oh, they're waving us on, never mind. Now, two main weaknesses that water has are electric and grass. Now, electric is not resistant to water, so they're slightly vulnerable in that regard, especially because electric is, in general, a fragile type, and grass types are generally underpowered, especially until, like, 4th gen. I mean, there's pretty much no legendary grass types at this point anyway. But fighting water types is pretty much what you keep grass types around for. And defensively, water types get ice type attacks quite often, and those ice type attacks rip grass types a new one. How convenient, right? Now, as for resistances, water is resistant to itself. Ice, which means that stuff like Lapras is double resistant to ice. I actually use a Lapras quite a bit against Articuno because he lasted a very long time, and Articuno was not resistant because he was ice flying. Right? Water also mixes with a lot of different things. Oh, it's also resistant to steel, which is a relatively minor note, especially because steel is not weak towards water. I actually find that somewhat interesting, but, you know, whatever. Generally speaking, water just has a very simple profile. It's strong against fire, ground, and rock.
Show me your pussy!
You have to look in a mirror for that one, bud.
Show me your fucking pussy!
The rearview mirror is right there, man. Just look at it.
Show me your fucking pussy!
Yeah, that's the sort of thing that happens around here. Go figure. Motherfucker couldn't follow the instructions. Anyway. Where was I? I can't remember. Everyone's just shouting about pussies around here. Oh, right. Offensively, good against fire, grass. Sorry, fire, ground, rock. Which are all, you know, relatively common offensive types. It is weak towards electric and grass. And it is strong against water. Sorry, it is resistant to water, ice, and steel. Now, some good water types, real quick. The obvious choice is Kyogre, the legendary. I think he's pretty much the only water type legendary right now, and he is easily the best water type in the game. Oh, sorry, no, Suicune from 2nd gen. Suicune, unfortunately, is like one of the weakest legendaries for really no good reason whatsoever. He's just got a very defensive profile, which doesn't do well for his CP or his usefulness for that matter. As for good non-legendary water types, Vapoeon is the obvious choice. I mean, his CP is just about legendary tier itself, 3,000 plus, and he gets a fairly decent choice of water attacks. Either Hydro Pump or Aqua Tail is what I would recommend. Sorry, Water Pulse. Aqua Tail's alright though, especially if you want a really dodgy one. Gyarados. Gyarados takes a lot to raise up, obviously, because he's coming off of Magikarp. But he can get Waterfall and Hydro Pump, so a full stab attack set. He's not weak towards grass. He pretty much doesn't have to worry about rock types because he has water attacks. The only real big flaw he has is slightly low defense and a double weakness to electric. Alright, what else we got? Obviously there's the water starters who are all at least average. Blastoise has a little more defense than he probably needs. Feraligatr is probably the best offensive one out of the starters. And then of course there's Marsh Stomp, where's the Swampert? I can never remember which name the 3rd gen is. Sorry, I kind of quit playing the base games at Silver. But he's actually a water ground type, which protects him very effectively against electric types. And actually you can use him as a ground type attacker if you wanted to. But he's also a fairly bulky and strong water type. Milotic, the evolved form of Feebas, is essentially a defensive version of Gyarados. He's not as good, but he is bulkier. So essentially it's like take Gyarados and switch his defense stat for his offense stat and take away the flying. That's pretty much Milotic. A lot of people look at Wailord. Wailord is basically the water version of freaking Blissey. He just doesn't, he has a lot of bulk, but he does not have the attack power to back it up. Alright, let's see if I've got any other water types that I'm forgetting. I mean, there are a couple of water slash ice types, like, you know, Walrein and Lapras and whatnot. Slowpoke is alright. Lotad is worth mentioning. Water and grass pair very well. They cover each other's major weaknesses. I mean, his maximum potential CP is not very good, but he's double resistant to water. He's not weak towards grass. He's not weak towards fire, right? And depending on his moveset, you can trick people as a defensively into attacking one or the other. Kingler, I think, could actually work as a glass cannon somewhat, but he just doesn't get a very good moveset. Bubble is too slow for dodging, and Water Pulse is as an attack. Omastar probably works better as a rock type than a water type, but he can do the basic water type job of being anti-fire very well because he is double resistant. Kabutops, kind of the same thing. Kingdra is also a good anti-fire type because he's double resistant to that. Water and Dragon pair very well. His CP is a little low though. Starmie is actually a really good glass cannon. He has virtually no bulk whatsoever, and Psychic typing probably doesn't really help him. Although as a neutral attacker against another Psychic type, he might work. Lantern. Lantern is interesting in that he is a water type, but also an electric type, which protects him against electric types, but it also protects him against water types, which is something that electric types normally don't. He also has a lot of bulk. Unfortunately, he just doesn't have the attack power to back it up. I would probably use Lantern as an electric type that is specifically focused on beating other water types. But beyond that, Then there's like Sharpedo and Crawdaunt, you know, Pelipper and that sort of stuff. That's, I would say of the two, Sharpedo's probably got the better moveset between him and Crawdaunt. So I'd go with Sharpedo if anyone. But there's better water types. So, I'd probably use them as a dark type more than anything. Then you've got stuff that just doesn't have the CP to back it up. You know, Quillfish, Barboach. I have a perfect Barboach, but I think he's a water ground. Quagsire is also water ground. And then there's just freaking Swampert, who is a better water ground in pretty much every category. Then of course there's Azumarill, pretty much useless. I'd say that's pretty much the core of all the really good water types that are available right now. So, have fun. Again, just to recap, good water types: Kyogre, Vapoeon, Gyarados, and then of course, you know, the starters and just about anything that whose potential CP gets it into the 2400 and over range. After that, yeah, your mileage may vary. Have fun.